السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري ويشرك في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وارنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. رب لا تذرني فردا وأنت خير الوارثين. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير، غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم. ربنا اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. آمين والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين. Last week we started the 40th verse of the 25th section of the Qur'an called Al-Furqan, section Furqan. We just introduced the subject. The time was up and we stopped there and left the rest to today's discussion. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وَلَقَدْ أَتَوْا عَلَى الْقَرْيَةِ الَّتِي أُمْطِرَتْ مَطَرَ السُّوءِ أَفَلَمْ يَكُونُوا يَرَوْنَهَا بَلْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ نُشُورًا. The translation says, they must surely have come upon the town that was showered with a ruining rain. Have they not seen or have they not understood it? But they don't expect resurrection. So we said the Quran usually likens coming down the rain. God is sending the rain to the earth, and so that the dried, lifeless earth becomes alive. And like the rain is the creation, the reason for created to be a reason to grow the plants and seeds, and dry land become fertile. So the Quran also is sent to human beings or to human barren body, because body cannot grow anything, that is just matter. But so the rain of the revelation comes to grow the seeds in this land, in this body. So we said revelation, the first note, the revelation also is like rain to grow these seeds, each of our senses, to know God. So to become able to know who God, who our Creator is. So we said this analogy, there is an interesting analogy here. Then let me read it, just what we have talked about. The rain is sent to the dead earth to grow plants to come out like resurrection. But here, ruining rain, describing the result of their not believing in the revelation, which informs them of the resurrection. So the news of the resurrection they receive from the message of the revelation puts them really in trouble. That is the problem. If the rain is used to grow seeds into plants, into trees, then the rain is useful. But if the rain is not utilized, it becomes a flood for them, for their destruction. So when we don't receive the message and reason about it and understand it and confirm it, because what it suggests makes really sense. But we have to think about it. For example, these people لا يرجون نشورا بل كانوا لا يرجون نشورا, but they don't expect resurrection. If somebody doesn't want to accept the resurrection, that they will be created, given existence after their body dies in this world. They will be given another body and they will continue their existence because of the capacity of spirit. It covers the infinite, limitless satisfaction, limitless expectations. So because of the capacity of the spirit, human feelings are given the capacity to extend their expectation into the infinity. It means we don't really recognize the final limit of our feelings. Everybody knows it. So we want always full satisfaction forever. That is fine. But if when we receive the news of resurrection, it fits human capacity. Yes, I need to continue my life after I die. After I die. That is how I am. Whoever made me with this need. Now this person says, or this revelation or the prophet says, you will be resurrected. You will be given even another body after you die. It puts them into trouble. Why? Because they don't want to believe. They don't expect that the resurrection should happen, so that they will not be accountable for their choices, for their life after they die. They are hoping that we will die and everything will come to an end. I will be forgotten and I'm not going to be taken into account, so that they will act in this way according to their caprices. So this news troubles them. Why? If it is correct, because it seems to be correct, it fits my human capacity. But I don't want to, because I am free not to want, because I am free not to choose to believe in the hereafter. So they will feel that their secure understanding is disturbed. That is why they become enemy of the prophets. They want to destroy this message of the revelation, so that they will feel comfortable with their own imagination that I will die and disappear. Whatever I do in this world will remain with me until I die, enjoy my life, live the rest. So if somebody, we have to understand this psychology. If somebody doesn't believe that after death they will be taken into account, and they will be asked, and they will be treated accordingly after they die in their next creation. Do they, here is the note here, I think, note 3, the number 3. Those who don't expect resurrection are not afraid of the result of what they do in this world, including atrocities they commit. For example, they kill thousands of hundreds of thousands of people just to satisfy their own caprices under the pretext of national or my security, national interest, this kind of vocabulary they made up. But they want to feel great with this, with the power, if they have the power. So they exercise this power. So the atrocities, they killed hundreds of thousands of people. What happened? Nothing. Why? Why nothing? Because, I'm powerful. They cannot harm me. Until I die, everything will be forgotten. I'm forgotten. I will be forgotten. So I'm not going to be responsible for what I have done in the world. Until I die, I can manage with my security. So caprices don't have or will not have any boundary if they don't want to believe in the resurrection, or if they don't believe in resurrection. Actually, it is very difficult to deny the need for resurrection for any human being. But this is a matter of choice. Human beings are given freedom to choose whether to believe or to reject. So when they reject it, artificially though, they feel comfortable, but they don't really want to hear this message again, this distributed, conveyed to them by the prophets. That's why, since they cannot come up with a counter argument, what did they do? They try to the prophets and those people who follow him, just to kill them, and so that this message will not be announced, delivered to them. They will just try to pretend they haven't heard anything like this, and they will feel comfortable within their own secure area. I feel the psychology of denial and lies here. That is why the deniers, rejectors, the people who say that the prophets are just liars, they deny. This is a lie. This is a lie, made up story. This is just a mythology. This kind of accusations they put forward, but I feel that they don't really believe in what they are claiming. It is impossible to say that I am meaningless. It is impossible. It goes against all my feelings. Impossible to accept it. So denial is not because they don't have enough evidence to confirm. I believe the deniers cannot be sincere in their denial. That is what I feel, and I try to understand uh, within my own capacity, how can a person can deny? Let me think myself as a free-thinking man. I don't believe in God. Look at myself, listen to myself, my feelings, my human side. Impossible to accept it. That I have no creator, that I have no responsibility for my feelings. So I don't believe that they are sincere in their denial. But if they choose not to deny, reject it, they are free to reject it. That is why uh, the word denying is used in Arabic, kafaru or kafara or yakfurun, kafirun, or all this word is covering up the truth. It means everybody must have heard of it. The farmers, when they till the land, when they uh, uh, do farming, what do? They put the seed and covered it with soil, with earth, so that the seed will grow in it. But this covering side is kafara. So a kafir, the one who covers it. So the farmers are kafir because they cover the seed so that the seed will grow. Uh, in one of the verse, Quran uses this word kafara to describe the farmers. But of course, nothing to do with Quranic term, kafara, denial, rejecting. Nothing to do with it. Just covering the earth and doing their farming in this way. That is what how I understand it. Here, I wrote in the item 3, they die here and disappear from existence. That's what they want to believe or they want to claim. This is why they are not taking the warnings of the prophets seriously. Why? Because they feel they don't, if they don't choose not to believe in the resurrection, can you, that's how they are supposed to do that. I am not going to be responsible. Can you imagine that? There is a person who is doing whatever he wants, and there is no justice, there is no police or court or just court and just to give them punishment, and there is no power or any place, prison, anything, or any way of punishing for their wrong activities, wrong deeds, they feel comfortable if they choose to do so. Although not many people do that, that is obvious, because people are created with the ability not to contradict their reality, not to contradict their human reality. But some people do, although they are, of course, proportionately much less in number than those people who follow their feelings. Uh, so there are different kinds of categories of people, and we don't mind about talking about their categories, none of our business, but we understand that everybody recognizes whether they believe in God or not. Even the atheists try to be very kind to others, very respectful, not to harm anybody, and go against injustice. and also reject what is going on in the world or in among human beings against human reality, they usually they do, they really support justice, doing right things. But when they comes to submit their being to the Creator, they don't want to submit. They want to feel great by themselves, saying that, look, I am a good human being that is correct in their behavior. So I don't want to be responsible before anyone who is my Lord, my Creator. So this understanding, uh, not like those people who completely reject resurrection. These people who are preferring to conform their human realities, they are always, we hear that they speak, even if there is a resurrection, I am a good man. Even if there is a resurrection, I am a good man. Even if there is a God, I'm not harming anyone. I am a good man, so this God wouldn't punish me. But the problem is they don't want to submit their existence to their creator. That is the difference. Of course, there are all sorts of human beings, and we don't know who is who, but we have to understand that uh, those people who don't expect resurrection, the coming down of the revelation, hearing the revelation disturbs them, disturbs them. That is why revelation becomes not a means of benefit, not a means of growing something that we need, but a means of ruining their human needs. So they become even more uh, disturbed with the revelation, depending on one's attitude. I think we understood that much. So, if you have any question for this Mataras, so ruining rain, why the unbelievers see it as a ruining rain, and why the rain becomes ruining for them. Now, I wrote something here, number 4, item 4 on the screen. How about, for example, the virus, epidemic virus, whatever, we experienced recently, or some earthquakes or other kinds of hurricanes, wildfires, whatever, all this kind of, we call them calamities. Why people generally don't take them as warnings, but only afraid of their own death? Why do you think? They don't take notice of them. Now, we hear that something happened to certain people from the Quran, certain people, because they reject the revelation, they rejected the prophets, they want to kill, they want to expel, they tried to expel the prophets from their hometown because they didn't want to hear them, because it is disturbing. We talked about it for their comfortable life, the artificially comfortable life. They don't want to feel responsible for their actions, for their choices. I understood that. So, do uh, do we expect a special treatment? For example, this virus epidemic virus, we recently, they call it COVID. So this virus created worldwide. Why don't we see that as a warning from our Creator? Or, I mean, definitely you do, but why do people don't see it as something like other Torah stories about the prophets and the Quran stories, narrations about the prophets? Why don't we liken it to them? Many people died as a result of this creation. Many people died, and still some people, although less now, suffer from this disease. Do you think we can liken it to those destroying news narrated in the Quran and in Torah? What do you think? No idea.
Assalamu alaikum. Uh,
Hello.
I was I was thinking about, I guess, like it depends on how we're reading the events, right? If I reject there's a creator, then any of these events in and of itself, or if I refuse to accept my own createdness, then any of these events um also exist independently. They're also not created in that sense. So that I get lost in the cause of in the chain of causation. And therefore I I guess like for me to take it as a warning of anything would be to imply that there is something there for me to take personally for my own being, some sort of message reading. And I think because people, I mean, and this can be kind of applied for other things too, but maybe because of the fear of death, that, you know, if there is no solution that I've found for death, for example, then anything that reminds me of death is also something I want to distance myself from as well. And so I find myself kind of in circular reasoning, and kind of I dig myself deeper in the same sort of um yeah, like a circular reasoning in the same sort of position, deeper and deeper and deeper, because I don't want to think about death, but death is happening. So I don't want to think about death, but death is happening. And I see it and I even experience it myself too. Um, and I forgot what was the other question.
No, this one, why they don't why don't we and people take it as the events narrated in the books of the Quran and Torah? Why they don't take it like this? And because they think that the prophets are not killed or not tried to be killed, uh, do they really expect that the physical existence of a prophet and the people's physical rejection of the prophet, so that they will say, "Oh, this is like one of the events narrated in Torah and in the Quran." Why don't we see it? Do you think because uh, there is no prophet personally existing here now?
I think um that seems like a relevant reason. Maybe related, or my own thought on this is, I think it's maybe because the people who don't see it as similar to um the instances in Revelation is because they don't see Revelation as talking about actual real events, but rather stories and maybe even myths, and then so they don't sort of want to think that something like that can happen in actual life because the revelation itself is just a bunch of stories. The other thing that comes to my mind is that I think there is a strong belief related to something, I think, to the previous point, which is that, the God being merciful and kind and loving, etc., will never do this with an intent to sort of harm, let's say physically harm human beings. And so to relate this incident to the Torah or Revelation or the Quran is, is unpleasant, and that's not what they would want. That's not how they imagine God to be. And this is just sort of a way to scare people, and it should be thought about as something else. That's my thought.
Now, in summary, can we say that because they don't believe these events are created by God, and so that they don't really believe in revelation anyways? Maybe let's listen to Afshan first. Please.
Well, in the in narratives of destruction in scripture, like natural disasters, we see entire non-believing communities receiving the disaster as a result of their disbelief. Whereas in our present lives, it's not like that. Um, the virus epidemic affected everybody. So that's why for me, it's a little confusion, or I guess I don't see it as a warning, but I see it as a learning. So in the, for everyone, not like a warning in the sense that the pandemic, I learned, oh, he can bring the whole world to a stop with something I can't even see. And everybody submit. Every single person submit. Every single person who lived through it, their life changed in some way. And then it's a question of who submits uh spiritually, or just, and who submit just physically. So obviously with belief, we submit and we said, oh, this is all you. The virus is you, the means of transmission is you, my health is you, my sickness is you, my recovery is you, everything you. And then for people who don't believe, obviously they they just talk about the body. I distinctly remember Governor Cuomo telling people to wear masks, and then he said, it's not an act of God. If you wear a mask, the numbers will go down and things will start to get better. And I thought it was so funny because I thought, well, the way the virus spreads is also created. So as always, he contradicted himself. So anyway, I see it as learning, not as warning.
Yeah, I think because of the lack of belief, they don't believe that they are consciously, deliberately created. By the way, warning is not a bad thing. Warning is just for the sake of teaching, giving good words, reminding the reality. Warning, reminding is the same thing in the word actually. Indar and tezkira or dhikr, tezkir, warning, be careful, it is very dangerous for you. Something is doing very harmful for you. But reminding is, again, you know that it is bad for you. Don't do it. Don't choose this one. Anyways, I understand from what you all said, and also I think the reason is they don't believe that they are deliberately created by a conscious being in order to teach them. about their reality. So if physical teaching, physical killing of the Prophet is not a great deal, physical killing of a prophet is not the point in the Quran, as far as I understand. But anybody who rejects the message kills the prophet. Whether if physical teaching is not really the point, as far as the teachings of the Quran is concerned, we have to think about it. And for example, the Quran says they killed the prophets, Nabi, Anbiya. So they killed the Anbiya. I don't know how to make this difference between, if you call the Quranic word Rasul, messenger, then Anbiya, the prophet. So they tried to kill the prophets. But the Jewish people and Torah narration says, no, the Jewish people never tried to kill the prophets. This Quran is talking about something really didn't happen historically, as far as the Jewish history is concerned. They say this. But what I understand, anybody who rejects the message of the prophet will be the murderer of the prophet as far as his individual life is concerned, because the prophet is dead in his life. So Afshan says, as a continuation of her speech, when you explain in this way, yes, it is a warning. It was a strong reminder to me. It says, warning, it's just reminding, but strong reminding, because the case is very serious. If someone doesn't believe in God, if someone doesn't believe in resurrection, it is the worst thing for these people to happen. So it is a really useful reminding, useful warning. That's why it's maybe in some places, Quran describes the prophets as nadir, warners. Some people as reminders, mudhakkir. The words are used in the Quran for prophets. So, Fariha says, because revelations are, i.e., books God sent, books are taken as a narrative, something from the past, distant from our reality now, because they don't believe. They don't believe in the revelation. That's why if somebody believes in the Torah or the Quran as revealed by God, the distance should not really much matter. So the problem is, I think, not to believe that their creation, their existence, the existence of the universe, therefore the existence of these events, we call them calamities, disasters, are deliberately created because they see that the universe exists how it is, like this, by itself. So let's move to the following verse. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That was 40th verse of the Furqan. Now we are going to study first the 41st verse of the Furqan, section Furqan. وَإِذَا رَأَوْكَ إِنْ يَتَّخِذُونَكَ إِلَّا هُزُوًا هذا الذي بعث الله رسوله. It's beautiful. But the Quran is very open book. You know, it's a very open book. Whatever the accusations directed to the Prophet or to the Quran, it exposes it and makes it almost infinitely remembered. Because this kind of accusations will continue alongside human history, so human life in the future. That's why the Quran doesn't hide the accusations, but the way the Quran treats them includes the answer to these accusations. So we need to read the Quran carefully to see these accusations, how these accusations are responded, answered, but it needs a very careful reading. We don't see literal answer to it. Sometimes it says, they say this, then goes on talking about seemingly something else, not an answer, a direct answer to the accusation. But when you read it carefully, you understand that it is answered. Now, the translation says, whenever they see you, of course, particularly first recipient of the Quran is the Prophet. So whenever they see the Prophet, we can read it. But when I read this verse right now, I can take it to myself. Whenever they see me as an, inshallah, as a Muslim believer, they only ridicule me. Is this one God sent as a messenger? It means, is this one who is following the one who was sent as a messenger? And he is the representative of this messenger now in front of me. Look at this guy. Who is he? But for the Prophet, it is really, really appropriately fits, because the personal identity of the Prophet doesn't seem to be so great at all, according to their understanding of what makes a person as a great person. Well, he's not rich, he is not poet. I mean, what their criterion nowadays is, for example, he is not a scientist, he is not a philosopher, he is not for example, a famous star or one of the celebrities. He is just ordinary man nowadays. So let's talk about this point here. Number one, who are the Quran talking about when it says you and they? You know, we talked about it. You means anyone, Muslims, for example, nowadays. Look at these poor Muslims, how you know, wretched their situation is, economically backward, social life is so not so well arranged, they're not successful. This kind of accusations we can hear. and we are developed, we are more civilized, but they really live a kind of rural life, backward life. That's what they say. Culturally behind, technologically behind, and financially behind, and their political life, most of them are in a mess. So now the same accusation they may go on in their minds now. And they, what I understand from those people who feel great because of their worldly wealth and not really, they have knowledge that doesn't represent the truth, doesn't include the truth in it, their financial power, their military power, their technological advancement, this kind of things. That's what I understand. Those people who think they are the criterion for a person to be taken seriously and give a status in the social life among the people. That's what what I understand from you and they. The previous verse says, you don't expect resurrections. Excuse me, they don't expect resurrection. Now we should understand that their criterion is not according to the reality that the universe is created by the absolutely almighty creator, and human beings are created for a purpose, and this purpose is not to be prosperous in this world, but to get ready for to get education here and get ready, prepare yourself for an eternal life. The main problem of the people, not only they don't believe in God, but also it has an element in it, but because of not the believing in the resurrection is the source of all sorts of evils. That's what I understand. Not believing in God is the initiation of it, or the first step in it. But even some people may say that there may be a creator, but I will take care of my life. I will try to enjoy my life until I die. So believing in God may not have as a strong effect on people's life as believing in the resurrection. So can you imagine? You are aware that you are going to be taken into account for your all requirements of your feelings. How would you feel? You are going to be taken account. You will be asked, what have you done with these qualities I gave you, with these senses, all this consciousness, intellect, feelings. I gave you all these. What have you done with them? How did you use them? Is more effective in one's life, believing in the resurrection or not believing in the resurrection. But believing in God is not as effective, because practically speaking, in one's life. Although without believing in God, you cannot believe in the resurrection anyways. But as far as the effect in one's life, can you imagine whatever you do now, and 1 hour later, you will be asked to give an account for it. What have you done with these tools that that are given to you? What have you done with them? So you will be really serious about it. For example, if a teacher says, I am going to tell you something, teach you something in 45 minutes, and at the end of this 45 minutes, I will give you a test, and accordingly, you will get your degree. How would you feel? Or now people don't believe that there is a test at the end. And the same teacher says, I'm going to teach you something very important, but no test at the end mentioned. Now, listen to it carefully. You need it, for example. Do you think in these two scenarios, the students will take the teaching seriously equally or not? There is a test at the end. In the second scenario, there is no test at the end. What do you think? Isn't that obvious, the answer? Or the same? No answer from you. Did I make sense? Or did you not understand what I say?
Yes, doctor. If you have a test, it's a huge incentive to learn the material.
Yeah. In order, but the test doesn't mean that we are going to be tested. Test represents here belief in resurrection. It means you will be taken into account. So you take it up. I don't mean really for the sake of testing, but it is an analogy. Somebody believes in resurrection, somebody doesn't believe in resurrection. Their attitude really changes, but of course, I see in my practical life, I believe in resurrection. There must be, I'm sure. It's now, as far as I'm concerned, I feel that there must be a resurrection, definitely. But do I live accordingly? No, because of neglect. That is something human failure. But we are talking about the theory now. If someone believes in God, for example, in America, well, a great majority of people believe in God. But do they believe in resurrection and act accordingly? Generally speaking, I don't see signs for the option that they believe in resurrection. They will be taken into account. So that is why the belief in God may not affect one's life as much as belief in resurrection is concerned. Now, the number two, how do we experience this in our practical life now? For example, some scientists say, you don't understand science, or that is why you feel the need to believe in God as the creator. But if you study science, you will understand that the things can be explainable without referring to a creator. Because they are acting by themselves, seems to be. But they don't say seems to be, they say yes, they are. But in fact, they seem to be acting by themselves. But they don't have evidence that demonstrates that they are acting really by themselves. They don't have any quality for it. They don't show the quality. They say they seem to be. Like I say, oh, the computer seems to be working by itself. No. Why should I believe in an engineer who made it? Why should I believe in it? Come on, look at the computer. It is working by itself. I think we understand that saying this, by the people who are ridiculing the prophets, is this the one God has sent as a messenger? They are seeing the person itself, not the content of the message the prophets are delivering to them. So we have to be careful as well. By looking at the personality of the prophet, although in the Muslim culture, they are trying to elevate the personal states of the prophet among the community where they lived, try to elevate it. I don't think there is a need for it. He was an orphan, correct? He wasn't a distinguished character, correct, historically. He was not rich. He didn't have a strong family backing. No. And he was not the person who is well known for anything apart from he was an honest, trustworthy person. That's the only quality. He was a trustworthy person. That is it, nothing else. Why do we need to elevate the status of the prophet? Not that we don't need it, but he was a wise man. A wise man, but with no power in his hand to implement his wisdom. So he wasn't a knowledgeable man. That is great. But at the same time, we contradict this. Muslim culture contradicts itself by saying that he was an illiterate person. Yeah, if it's an illiterate person, he is nobody in the society as far as his personality is concerned. So there is no need really try to sanctify the prophet's personality. But what we have to do, take the content of the message he is conveying to us and see the quality of the message, and also as the recipient of the prophet, how he was so loyal, adherent to the content of the message, how he was sincere to practice it with no hesitation at all, without changing once said a verse. That is forever. Never playing with it anymore. Correcting, editing, nothing at all. He didn't, never try to do this. It means he was sure the verse as he received represents the perfect truth. He was sure about it, and he followed it, he believed in it, he acted on it, and he was always loyal to it. Never gave up at all, or never hesitant about it. That is why we call the prophets as Abd. Muhammadun Abduhu wa Rasuluh. Abd means acts, lives according to the message. So he was the best representative of being an Abd, worshipper of God. That is the value he gained after he received the message. So there is no need to bring up the lineage, ancestral lineage of the Prophet and trying to uphold his ancestral lineage. What are you going to do? Coming from a poor, unknown ancestor or very, very well-known ancestor. According to the narration of one hadith, and not the Roman emperor, but his representative, there's a special word for it, in Palestine. Nowadays, Palestine and where this area is. So in Palestine, he was the representative of the Roman emperor. So he asked, or Roman emperor asked, the narration is not very clear. So narration says, asked Abu Sufyan, before he embraced Islam, and he said, who is this man who claims that he is the prophet, messenger of God? And one of the questions is very interesting. He asked, is he coming from a very highly regarded king or emperor lineage? And Abu Sufyan said, it is narrated in Bukhari, but it's a long, very long hadith narration. I am just taking a section of it and roughly translating it as much as I understand now. And not really, he's an orphan. And somehow his father and grandfather was the leader, but he himself is almost nobody in the society. He said the prophets have this quality. So, in general, anyways, we understand that we don't need it. That's what it is important. And that is why the Quran says, is this the one God has sent as a messenger? Clearly, yes. We can send a messenger, we can appoint as a messenger and shepherd. Because as long as he is a trustworthy, as long as he is going to be loyal, God knows whom he is going to choose. Now, as far as he is going to be able to implement the requirements of this message, then we choose it. We don't really look for knowledgeable person, etc. Just a brief reference to Talut. Dawood appointed Talut as a commander-in-chief, and these nobles of the society said, he is not a powerful man. He is not a rich man. How can he be our commander-in-chief in the army to fight against Jalut? And that was the same reason mentioned in this story as well. So Quran says, yes, but he was successful. So Quran says, you didn't like this man, right? You didn't see that this deserves to be chosen as a messenger, as the Quran explains in another verse, saying that if God was going to send a messenger, he would choose one of those people from the major well-known cities, not Taif, one of them, not this man, but one of the nobles of these well-known two cities. So we should be careful that the value of Islam comes from the message or derives from the message that the Prophet brought, and the value of the Prophet comes from his loyalty to the message and the highest degree of practice, application of the message in his personal life, first of everybody, in the most perfect way. Even nobody followed him. He said, I am going because God promised me that God asked me to go. That's it, alone. We see events like this happened in his life. So I think this matter is clear, inshallah. So the last point is, do you see any contradiction in their lives when the believing scientists say it is impossible to explain these research results by referring them to the matter itself? They reject publishing their papers in scientific journals. And the question, we talk about it a lot, but it is a very important point. If they are sure in their claim that there is no need to refer the creation to a creator, why do they feel disturbed, uncomfortable? If someone says, yes, I did the research as you did, and I understood that it is impossible to explain it in terms of matter by itself. Why don't they publish it? Why don't they give permission to publish it if they are sure of their claim? We understand why they are not sure. Or they don't want to believe in God and the Creator. They don't want to submit themselves because of their arrogance, because of their not feeling or not feeling ready to submit their existence to a creator and take care of their life, don't not claim ownership for what they are successful. That is God's present to me, gift to me. So they cannot feel great within themselves. That's what it is, a very cheap, very poor claim. It's not worth it. But they don't take notice of it. Oh, that is their choice. Human beings have freedom. Of course, we always have to keep in mind this point. I think this verse is also very important and also teaching a lot to us, inshallah. Any comment and question? Yes, Afshan.
Doctor, earlier in the class, you made the statement, anyone who rejects the message kills the prophet. So I just want to know, is there a grammatical term for this type of reading?
Which one?
When you say anyone who rejects the message kills the prophet, is there a grammatical term for that style of understanding or that kind of reading?
Afshan, thank you asking the question. Still, I am trying to understand. Is your question, can you please repeat it again? Maybe put it in another word?
I mean, when we were on the previous slide, you
Yeah,
said,
previous, just a minute, let me go there. Now here, okay.
you said that anyone who rejects the message, like kill.
Did I say or have I written here?
No,
Anyone?
no, you just said it while in your discussion.
No. Anyone who?
Anyone who rejects the message
Yes.
kills the prophet.
Yes.
So my question is,
Yeah.
is there a grammatical term for this kind of a reading?
No. The Quran cannot be read literally. No, so you don't have to expect always a grammatic term, but metaphorical teachings, allegorical teachings, we understand that, for example, they tried to kill. Why did you try to kill the prophets? And Jews said, no, we didn't try to kill the prophets. There is no recording in their history. They have so ridiculous recordings in their history, and they don't hide it. Worse than trying to kill the prophet, they attribute many, many embarrassing things to the prophets.
Oh.
They're committing adultery, and they don't hide it. That's what they say. That is how it happened. But when it comes to killing the prophet, they say, no, we didn't physically try to kill anything at all. Of course, they didn't make the distinction between physical killing or spiritually killing. But we understand that whether they really tried to kill the prophet in physical terms or not, excuse me, just a minute. This is an important question. This is an important question. When we read that, they tried to kill the prophet, even it was the case physically, maybe it is the case. I am not saying it is not the case at all. I have no evidence. Either it is the case or it is not the case. But most of the time, Quran speaks within figurative way. Most of the time, all these examples are not really physically must have happened. No, just a way of teaching, giving an example, giving an example. So these kind of examples we understand. So now, for you and me now, when you hear the message from the Quran saying that, why did you try to kill? Why did you not try? Sorry. Why did you try? Why did you kill the prophets? Why did you do that? Why did you kill the prophet? As the narration says, you killed the prophet. Okay. Let's assume that it physically happened. Now I am reading it. What benefit I should get from this message, from this verse? Tell me what message you will get. Why this Quran and this verse is still valid for you and me? The first question, is it valid for you and me? Let's have a dialogue.
Yes.
Now, if it is valid, you learn this message. The Jews tried to kill the prophets and not tried to kill. They killed the prophets. What are you going to do with this verse? Just curse Jews? The Jews you are cursing now are not the people who killed the prophets. Why do you curse them? For something else, I don't know. But for killing the prophets, you cannot curse. I don't know. After 2003, no, something thousands ago, tried to or killed the prophet. How can you accuse the man after 3,000 years later? What are you going to do benefit from it? What benefit you are going to get from it?
None.
Think about it. Why do you think God is telling me this? Just think about it and say, why do you think God is telling me this now to me and you? Any answer? This is the problem, Afshan. We don't read the Quran as speaking to us according to our needs. Now, we don't read it as a guide. No, we don't read it as a guide. No, no. I missed something. There is also age-based error. There is also misdiagnosis of the self-involved. Long ago, age-based I wrote it. Oh, I'm not locating it, the context we discussed this. Now, Fariha now just wrote it. I am denying my reality if I kill the prophet. Or when you don't follow, when you deny your reality and you don't take notice of the message of the Quran, you kill the prophet in your life as far as you are concerned. Prophet doesn't exist anymore in your life, in my life. Now, my friend, our friend Afshan, did it make sense?
Yes, doctor.
Now, that is why we should not imitate these people who don't know how to read the Quran. When you read the Quran, there are principles that must be applied in reading the Quran. Two of which I will tell you, only two of them. One is Quran speaks, God speaks at the level of me, the audience, according to their living conditions, living experiences, their understanding capacity within the time they live. Now you and me. God speaks to you and to me according to within our capacity, within our living conditions. That is one principle we should never ever forget. God speaks to me from my perspective, gives the examples that I see it. I see it and answers it or guides it to the right understanding. As I see it, then it speaks to me. You see that the sun is the sun is turning. Now I say yeah because I see the sun is turning from the setting point to the rising point, and turns around. Seems to be around the earth. As we see it, he speaks. The Quran speaks and says, that is how we created it. Whether sun turns or the earth turns doesn't make any difference. Who is turning it? The essence of turning is not the subject of argument. The agent of the turning is the point as far as the Quran is concerned. That is one principle. Another principle, Quran is the speech of God, which includes in it the meaning, valid, practicable, understandable throughout human generations until the end. That is the definition of the Quran. So every generation can read the Quran according to their needs. I don't need history, Jewish history, whatever the history at all. But I need the way the history is narrated to me. I have to understand it and adapt it to my living conditions. Now, Quran accuses a people, a group of people, killing the prophets and harming themselves, doing something wrong. And I hear the news from my creator narrating this news to me and telling me, Ali, you may be one of these people. Are you killing the prophet in your life? Hmm? Have you killed the prophet? What have you done? It is obvious. Are you taking the existence of the prophet with his message seriously and try to understand, benefit, and apply it into your life? Are you doing that? That's what I have to understand, because some people got accused in the past, killed the prophet. And this narration says to me, am I doing the same thing? I should think in this way. So there is no need to read the Quran literally in its historical context. Impossible to benefit from it. So do you think the Quran is gossiping about Jewish tribe in the past? God is gossiping, narrating, look at these people, killed them. No, how bad people they are. Okay, excuse me. They lived 3,000 years ago. What am I going to do with it? Why do you tell me this? Pointless. Quran can never, ever be read in this way. It is an insult to the Quran. We have to wake up, try to understand and apply to our life. Addressing to me right now, God is telling me this story so that I will understand from it. It is applicable to my life. That is why God is telling to me now this story. I think this is what I am very sensitive about. So we have to be very careful. We should get rid of this cultural religion. I got it. Thank you very much. Of course, too much. But I know it is so essential. I'm not speaking to Afshan only. All our friends here, we must understand, and those people listening to the recordings and reading the notes taken out of these recordings, they have to hear it, these points. That's why I am emphasizing on it. Not only to convince one person, the one who asked the question. So, unfortunately, is there any benefit at all in studying history then? Depends. It is too late now. We have to stop. Now, to ask this question, the story, what are you going to do? If you are going to benefit from it, as an example, go and search it. But how can you find out the tribe Muawiyah? How can you find out the tribe who killed the prophet? Which prophet was it? And when it happened? And those people died 3,000 years ago, 3,000 plus years ago. What are you going to do? There is no remnants of it. There is no evidence for it at all. There is no evidence whatsoever. What are you going to benefit from it by investigating history? There are some narrations about the life of the prophet practically practiced, and they are recorded, protected, and they need to be learned in order to contextualize the message told in these stories. So most of this need is related to fiqh, jurisprudential matters, not belief matters. Belief matters never needs any historical background at all, any historical narration at all. But fiqh matters as far as the life of the prophet is concerned, as far as the verses which are narrating from the light of the life of the Prophet Muhammad is concerned, they need it. But I am not a jurist. I am not a person who is qualified to say anything about fiqh matters. It is already established anyway. We don't have to be experts on it. So I don't see any point in reading the Quran within its historical context now, because my main concern is belief matters, moral matters, virtues, ethics. So these don't need historical information at all, because God is the creator. God is the creator. Resurrection will happen. Resurrection will happen. There is no need to study the historical context at all. So inshallah, it is clear, a very brief example. But unfortunately, the culture heavily indoctrinated our minds that we cannot get rid of them. That is why we are struggling for. Otherwise, it's very easy. It's very easy to understand. Unfortunately, to unlearn is very difficult. And but we have to struggle. We shouldn't give up. We shouldn't really say, oh, it is a hard job. No, we should insist on learning how to really benefit from the message of Quran. Okay, I have to stop. It is really, excuse me, too late. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم وآخر دعوانا إن الحمد لله رب العالمين بحرمة سر سورة الفاتحة اللهم صل